fab.
I think Linda's having a few problems getting in, she said. But I think everyone who's clicked on.
Great.
Yeah.
Right, who's kicking off then? Thanks everyone for making it on a special day. We can catch up with the match afterwards. And if Ian's watching it, obviously it's been paused, we can all text him to let him know what the score is. So
Don't do it. Don't do it.
yeah, that's right. To save you an extra, whatever it is, hour. Cool. So pretty much we, over this webinar, we are doing a little bit of a recap and a little bit of an extension on the musicianship band dynamics. It was really cool to have you guys down with us in the rehearsal studio. Did you guys enjoy that? Nods or shakes there. Yeah, I've got to admit, I think it's one of the most fun ones that we've done. Just the little bit of getting to grips with a new venue, but also the guy there who wasn't a Christian loved the fact that we were there. He was waxing lyrical sort of when we left. Just really appreciated. Was interested to know what was going on. It turns out that he'd gone to ECC when it was a cinema. So yeah, so I said to him, you can come back and check it out to see how much it's changed. So hey, slipping a little invite there. You never know. But yeah, it's all good. So pretty much we're picking up on just some of the things really. And am I doing these questions, Ian?
Do you want to do the first two and I'll do the long two later?
Mate, always good to share it. Cool. So
that means I can just, if anyone's late coming in, I can just help them.
Yeah, that you can put it on. Okay, that's fair enough.
There's Linda, which is good.
Hey, Linda, woohoo, you made it.
And Josiah as well, I think he's having a bit of
excellent. Brilliant. My gallery view is getting bigger and bigger. It's brilliant. So pretty much we're going to do a show of hands just as we can see people through. We were looking at because we talked a little bit about how learning new songs, obviously some of those songs might have been new to you, some of them hopefully were really well known that we rehearsed through, but just to try and get an idea, it's a bit of a straw poll. So in your current, as it were, your current sung song list that you have at church, who has less than 40 songs on their list at the minute? Hey, I'd see that one hand. Hallelujah. Oh, two. Great. Definitely. Let's pray a prayer. So that's good. And who has between maybe 40 and 70 songs on their list of currently sung songs? Leighton, you reckon you're around there? Ken, you reckon Theo, you're somewhere around there? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Simon, you reckon you might be around there too? Who reckons they've got over 70 songs on their... Nina, you're definitely keenly like, yes, there's a lot. Great. Okay, so, and Ross as well, and Rachel. Okay, brilliant. So, hey, that was about 4 people have over 70 songs. About 4 people thought that they had about between 40 and 70, and then a couple of people thought they had under 40. Okay, that's interesting to know. I remember when I first looked at our list, and we had over 300 songs before we did any type of scaling back in terms of songs. And we just realized that 300 songs is too many for anyone to learn that was coming in on team. And although I remember going through it a couple of times with the worship leaders, it went a bit like this. Oh, we love that one. And oh, we love that one. Oh yeah, we definitely can't get rid of that one. We love that one. And you turn, 248. Oh, we love that one. And you're like, guys, are we not going to get rid of any songs? And I realized I just approached it from the wrong direction. I was asking them, did they like the songs? Which one should we pull out? Rather than talking about how are we going to get new people in with a list of 300 songs. And the fact is that even if they did 1 a week, 2 a week, 3 a week, 4 a week, new songs, they weren't going to, it was going to take them, so long, a year and a half to even learn all of our repertoire, of which we didn't do all of the time. And so I suppose really we were approaching it from that direction about, the way that maybe we would how many songs we'd have on our currently sung songs list. Because when we're thinking about what are we practicing, what are we rehearsing, what are we sound checking, which we're going to look again a bit and ask some questions around that in a bit. We realised that there's no chance that we're going to get new people on team, really. It'll be interesting. Does anyone want to share any joys or frustrations of either getting their lists down to a smaller number or any struggles that they might have had with that? Anyone want to share? Just
we don't have a list.
Oh, at all? So
No.
technically you have an infinite number on your list.
Yeah, I guess we started out with songs of fellowship, so 1 to 4.
Yeah.
Then it got too many, and then we just went to song select, and then we print off. So we don't actually have a list. So it was a guess, 40 to 70. Yeah.
That's interesting. So how do you find that with bringing new people on team, Simon?
We're a really small church, so it's fairly static number of team members we have. When new people join, which they do, I guess they've been in the congregation for a while, and although we've got like 40 to 70 we could use, we will tend to use, I would think, 20 to 30 very regularly, and then the others less so. So they'll tend to know those by the time they join the team.
Oh, that's interesting. Whenever I do consultancy at church, I'll always ask them to track the last 3 months' lists and then to collate them for me, and just to see what, because sometimes, Simon, people are very similar to you. They're not sure what are our top songs. They know they enjoy the worship times, but they've not done any type of tracked, like what are our top songs that we're singing? How often do we sing them? Do we sing the same ones over and over? Like you say, was it 40 to 70? Is it actually 20? And it's just really interesting to do. So for all the blues out there, if you haven't done it, you so will enjoy that. Just saying, what is our top songs? In fact, at our sort of Christmas party for the worship team, this is sort of the fun things we do. We go onto Planning Centre, we find out what the top 10 songs are, and then we say, hey, who can guess what was number 1? Who can guess what was number 2? And so that's our version of fun. So, no one can accuse me of not having a great time. Does anyone else want to share, maybe, that either has a bigger list or smaller list? It'd be great to hear from you guys. Anyone want to jump in there?
We're in some ways similar to you, Simon. Again, I said sort of 40 to 70, but I reckon that's probably sort of 40 to 70 songs that appear either regularly throughout the year or a bit less regularly, but they do come up. But we have a lot more that are well, we do have a list, but we don't ever review that list. We don't. It's just that some songs on that ever lengthening list eventually don't end up not being used anymore. So, but we've never actually sort of managed that list at all. But it's an interesting what you say about looking back in the last few months to see what songs are kind of your top 10 or top 20 or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's me being a blue sort of / green would actually be interested in doing that. So that's a good idea. So I'll have a look at that.
Yeah, and especially if you're thinking about, right, well, let's say a new person pitches up to church and says, which one shall I learn? In fact, we had 2 years ago, we had a lady, bless her, she, the person leading their team left the church and she had to step up to take on the team. Now, she was a great vocalist and could sort of play keys, not that well. And she committed to, I'm going to learn 10 songs. And she very much relied on the fact that, like, what are the first 10 songs that my church loved to sing? And so she started by learning those 10 songs. I mean, I couldn't believe it, really, that she was like, right, I'm just going to learn 10. And 10 is better than none. It was a smaller church, but she had a team of, I think, about 8 to 12 people in the team. So there were other people, but there's no one that could sort of lead the musicians and sort of take that lead role. And she just committed to, I'm going to learn the top 10. And then she started to extend it one at a time, and as a result, built up the repertoire of that. Ross, you said you should just share your thought of.
When I started going to our church, we had a cabinet with hundreds and hundreds of songs in it, and it only ever got added to, and we never removed things.
Yeah.
So the song pool just got bigger and bigger in the 80s and 90s. We a few years ago we tried to get down to 100, which was exactly like you. Oh, we love that one. Oh, I'd want to have that one available. But we managed to get down to 100ish, I think, maybe less. We started using Planning Centre since then, and we've just had a cull recently because some things have crept on there from special events, conferences, or even weddings where we've done a song. And then because it's on planning centre, people think they can choose it. Actually, we've never taught it to the church.
Yeah.
So we've just gone through and got rid of some things that were never meant to be there. But we do quite like to have a reasonably large pool. We've got quite a few worship leaders who like to draw on different things. So we don't like to throw away songs just because they're old. So we're happy to bring back the odd song from the 90s or something that feels right for a time. But we have got much more rigorous on approval of new songs. So we are very deliberate about how we choose those and how we introduce them. But we're less rigid on things. If we've done it in the past, and if someone feels it's right, we just let them go with it, really.
Yeah. Wow, that's great. Actually, just we did the Aspire Women's Conference, and Chris Cartwright asked for a song written in 1992. I know some of the people here can remember that time, by Graham Kendrick, and it's like, wow, this song is so old. 26, is that 26 years old? I'd never heard it, and it's interesting how, like you say, those golden oldies do come back. It worked really well with his talk. And, it was absolutely fine. But, yeah, how you can get these one-offs. And you can imagine if these keep going in the database, or a song someone's requested for a wedding, how all of a sudden it really starts to fill up. And before you know it, you're doing all these songs. Well, the option to do all these songs, and actually you don't really sing them in church at all. Funny enough, a little rule of thumb that I use, we use a bit of I might have said this before, so just humour me if I have. We use a bit of a front burner, back burner type of a system. So we'll have a smaller number on our what we call our front burner, and those will be the songs. If you said you're coming on team, hey, learn these sort of. It's probably actually between 40 and 50, so I'll be somewhere in the middle of there. Maybe start, and I'll go to planning centre. I'd find out what are our top 20, and I'd give them that top 20 to work on first. And then when they've done that, they'll come back and see me, and they'll get, as it were, the next top 20 to make 40. But we use a bit of a front back burner list type thing, whereby if we're singing it, that's fine. Team should know it. But if it's, as it were, on the back burner, and a bit like you, Simon, we have, as it were, an unlimited number of songs on the back burner. But you've got to treat it like a new song when you introduce it. And so in your rehearsal, so that you would send it out ahead of time for the rehearsal, so that your musicians know it's coming up. You would then spend more time on it in the rehearsal time. And then you might even think about, as you're leading it through in church, whether you do sort of a double verse, you might do it a little bit slower maybe than its usual speed. And that way you're teaching it to the congregation, because the assumption is like, oh, everyone knows this. And in fact, I had one of my worship leaders, they said, oh, we're going to do this song. And it was the only, as it were, back burner song. And they were like, oh, everyone knows this one. And I suppose just to make a little bit of a point, we had various different ages of people on team. And I just said, okay, guys, so who actually knows this one? And I think there was about 3 in the team of about 8 or 9 that actually knew it. The leader was a little bit shocked because she thought everyone knew this one. And I said, okay, so out of the people who don't know this, who's been here the shortest amount of time? And there was someone on team who'd just been a couple of years. And then there was someone who'd been on team about 4 or 5 years. And then someone had about 6 years. And then another lady hadn't been on team 9 years. She had been on team. She'd been coming to ECC. And so this golden oldie that everyone knew, I realised that, wow, if you've joined the church in the last 9 years, one, you would never have sung this song, and you might not even know it. And so it was just a really interesting, that was in the worship team, let alone the church. It was just really interesting to go through. Like, I knew it, so I was okay. The worship leader knew it and just thought, hey, it's a golden oldie, everyone will know it. But actually, in our church, we have quite a big turnover, and 9 years is a massive, I reckon that it could have been a third of the church, maybe even half, wouldn't have known that song. And so it's just, bearing that in mind, really. So, just a little thought on that. Thanks, guys, for sharing. Another little straw poll for us, just because we're loving the straw polls. So how often do you do a new song? I've got 3 options for you. First one is a new song, 1 a month. Who would be a 1 a month church? Brand new.
What are the options first?
Huh?
What are the other options?
Oh, mate, you're so blue. That's so funny. Okay, 1 every 3 months or 1 every 6 months. So now you know what the 3 options are. That's great. Right. So who is one a month? Right. Who we got? Okay. Okay. We've got. Well, remember, there is one every 3 months. So I'm counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I see that hand. Whose is that hand? I don't see. Andrea, I see your hand. Oh, I see your face now as well. Amazing. Oh, I forgot. How many did I get up to? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 8 people. Cool. Who's one every 3 months or roughly thereabouts? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 people. Great. And who's one every 6 months? It's not shameful, Sophia. It's okay. But you are on your own. Amazing. Wow. So most people are actually doing new songs pretty often. And it's interesting, Ross, you mentioned about a cull, about the fact that adding to them. It's important to every once in a while take them out, or maybe ones that you're not singing. And that's where something like Planning Center can be really helpful, because actually it lists when that song was last put on a list. Now, what we've noticed is sometimes a song gets on a list but not sung, but it does actually show you, and sometimes you can see that, hey, we haven't sung this song for 4 years, because we've probably been using Planning Center maybe for the last 4 or 5 years. And you realize, wow, it shouldn't even be sort of in our list. So for those of you that have met Rebecca, she is ruthless in terms of the fact that she goes through, if you've not been, she just cuts out the songs, just goes through them, right? If they're more than usually about 2 years old, they've gone. And she pulls them out of that list. But it can be really important to have some in, some out. Ian, I think you do something like that, don't you, mate?
Yes. Do you want me to talk about that now, or are you going to... We do have a list of... Are you going to talk about new songs first, or are you...
Yes. I was just saying about the fact, did you cull your lists in terms of...
yes. Yeah, I cull mine every 6 months. 3 to 6 months.
There you go. Said like a true blue. Every 6 months on the day. Christmas.
No, not on the day. I'm not that tight, but yeah. It's every 6 months we'll do a cull. Yeah. Yeah.
And in some ways, it's interesting how when we can choose any songs we like. So Simon, I'd be really interested to know what how big your list actually was. When you can choose any song, it's interesting that sometimes we tend to go back to the same sort of, just similar songs without actually putting any boundaries. A friend of mine, Matt Weeks, he mentioned about, it's interesting how we often even sing songs in a similar arrangement. So if you're not using track, but you get a set way that you like to do it. And so you've got totally freedom. You can do verses as many times, choruses, bridges, but you tend to get into a nice routine. Oh, I love it when I do it this sort of way. And no one's telling you must do a double verse there or, 3 times bridge. But how actually we are creatives, but we're also creatures of habit. And it's interesting, just like, so maybe we could change it up a little bit. But just talking about that, just that one of the ways that we introduce new songs, which is this me, Ian? No, yes, it's me, yeah. It's one of the ways that you can introduce new songs is to bring them in for 3 weeks in a row. And so we've just finished this with one of our new songs. And so we do 3 weeks in a row. And whoever's leading worship, we ask them to squeeze that song into their list in some way or another. Now, if it doesn't work with their worship list, they might put it in as an offering song or a closing song. But for 3 weeks in a row, we do that new song. Then we give it a rest for 1 week. And then we bring it back on the 5th week and see, has church got it? How did it go? Did it go down really well? Did they remember it? Were they chomping at the bit to sing it? Was it arms raised and the best worship you've ever seen in your church? Or did they all, arms folded? We don't like this one. And then it's off the back of that sort of 5-week process that we would then evaluate. Like, should we keep going with this song? Has it got something still in it? Or is it actually it's worn itself out? So that's a great little process. You might want to hold to that, rigidly. You might want to be a little bit more flexible with it. But it can also be a great way that you talk with other worship leaders. And everyone feels then, hey, I'm part of the bigger journey. I'm part of the bigger story. And it can really help with some of those conversations. I think you guys already know that we teach all the new songs when we do a team meeting once a month. And so therefore all the worship leaders, all the singers, musicians that attend that week, that week in the month, they would all learn the new song at the same time. And so it's quite easy to do it that Sunday. That's the first Sunday. And then we sort of let it roll off the back of that, really. And just another little trick, I suppose, that we sometimes use is we might not do it quite at the track tempo. So we might actually slow it down a little bit. That's another great tip on teaching a new song. Not loads, so it's like drags. But if people are learning new lyrics, sometimes slowing it down just a couple of BPM can be really helpful, because they can, I'm getting it. And then just the final thing to say on introducing a new song would be sometimes doing a double verse can be really helpful the first couple of times that you present it. Just because it's a bit like you're singing it first and then they're repeating. And so this call and response, or this repeat after me, it's often a really helpful little way of introducing the new song. You might not choose to do it like that in the future. You might have a nice arrangement that you'd like to go back to. But the first 1 or 2 times of teaching a new song, then it can be a really cool, just double up on the verses, maybe double up on the chorus. And it's amazing how quickly then the congregation actually can get to grips with it, because you're asking them to repeat, immediately after you've done it. So, hey, Leighton, I saw you nodding your head with that little point. Have you got something you wanted to share on that?
Not really, but it makes a lot of sense, what you're saying. We do, like I said, of late, there's been a lot of new songs that have been coming in. And I mentioned that it's probably about, it was similar to what some of the other guys were saying, that we have a list of songs that we do, which is about maybe, a good strong amount of 40 or so, but there's a unlimited amount more. But there are always like new songs that are being brought in, but I've not quite done the old cutting, culling sort of thing. No, but I was just agreeing with what you said, Sam.
Yeah. Okay, mate. No, that's great.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, and I think if that you guys are looking to take this forward in terms of just, like Ross said about the fact of really trying to pull back the songs, doing it from a perspective of, hey, we really want new people to be able to come in on team, and we don't want to make it impossible for them to join the team, then it's for me, when I'd realised, that's one of the reasons why we do it, that really did help. And as a result, we were able then to bring more people in on team. I remember one particular girl that I'd been teaching probably for about 2 years, just once a month. The file of songs, where's my other hand? There it is. The file of songs started, just a few pages. And then she was a blue, and the file ended up getting bigger and bigger, and it ended up as one of those, the big files, and it's jam-packed. And when she brings it to team meeting, we're like, OnSong would have all of those for you. That's what Ross is thinking. He's thinking, why don't you just go onto iPad with OnSong? Then it's that thick. But yeah, it just really showed me over 2 years, how much we were expecting someone new to actually learn. And you realise that just can't be done in just a few lessons, or, hey, just go and check out a couple of YouTube links. So, hey, Ian, anything to add on that, buddy?
Yeah, I was going to say the 3 weeks on, 1 week off was like an old Vineyard rule. Like years ago when Vineyard, like the Hungry, remember them, the Hungry album, and that was really popular. But around that time when they were teaching new songs, they would do 3 weeks on, 1 week off. Personally, I always a minimum of 2 weeks on a row. 3 is best, but people need to get into it. And one thing I've found over the years is like asking people. So like ask the pastor or the service leader, do you think that new song worked? Did people connect with it? You got friends in the congregation, ask them, what did you think of that new song? Did you think it went well? And I found usually by the 3rd or 4th time, if a song is going to connect or not. And recently we tried Yes and Amen by House Fires. And we loved that song, but we noticed every time on the bridge it jumped up the octave. The room just didn't go with us. And we tried it 3 or 4 times, and then we realised, hey, this song is not gonna work because of the range. It's just our congregation. I think if it would be a congregation, it might help. But it was interesting. So I'd really encourage you just get feedback every time you lead the song, and that just helps picking it. So yeah, that's what I'd add to that one.
Great. Cool.
Yeah.
Any other little comments about that? If not, we'll. No, cool. No worries. Great. Ian, over to you, mate.
Great. So I'm just going to share a few minutes on that song list of 30, 40, 50, 100, 300, whatever you've got. And this is obviously, there is no hard or fast rules on this, but this is just like something that I've kind of think works. So we currently work on a list of around 30 songs, like 32, 33. And then every 3 to 6 months, we'll update that list, and we'll take so many songs out and add so many new songs. I've got a little, I thought I'd just show you our list to hopefully it works on the old share screen. This is from February. So this is our kind of list, and then we've got like a bit of a, if it's a new song, if it's been out there for a while, and then all the different keys. And then every like 3 to 6 months, we'll like knock off, say 3 or 4 songs, and then add 3 or 4 more. So yeah, that gives you a little. There's that yes and amen that we've ended up using. So that gives you a little idea of what we do. And then what I would say is typically we would like add maybe 2 to 5 new songs per quarter. So maybe like 10 or 12 songs a year. You know, our usual recommendation for a worship leader is on a Sunday. So we usually have like maybe 5, 6 songs on a Sunday. And so we say to the worship leader, choose, like, say if it's 5 songs, choose 4 from, make sure you choose 4 from that list, if that makes sense. And you know, you can do 1 that maybe you haven't done for a while. And obviously, sometimes you guess when you're in the week, you just feel God lays a song on your heart. So you think, oh, we haven't done that one for years, but God's really put that on me. Or, you know, the pastor or the preacher says, oh, can we do this song? So giving yourself a bit of room for that leeway, because obviously, I think sometimes if you just say you can only do these songs, that can get a little bit awkward, especially if you've got something fresh. So that's what we always say, you know, if you aim for 4 of the 5 to be off that list. And, you know, you want to encourage spontaneity also as well, and songs in the moment, you know. Like if you guys have them moments in church where, you know, you just feel the song comes upon you and you, oh, I've got to sing it. So like we would allow that. It's not like we're saying, you know, just stick to those songs. But, you know, it's a good tool to have. And what I've found over the years, having like a list of like 30 odd songs really helps the team and really helps new musicians. So if you've got a new musician or a new team member coming on, you can just go, hey, these are our 30 songs for this quarter. And then they can go away and learn those, rather than, you know, if it's like, oh, these are the kind of songs that we do. It's quite overwhelming for a new team member to learn. So that's what we normally do there. And you know, we can give that new person the whole catalogue of songs in one go, which is more manageable. Just a thought, I'll give you a little bit of thought as well on conferences. So for like a conference, like Elam conference, we did a few weeks back now, and we would typically have about 20 to 30 songs for that conference. It's not a rule of thumb, but just like we normally have like a third of those songs might be Elam Sound songs, a third would be really well-known songs at the conference, and maybe a third would be new songs that hopefully some of the conference would know. So again, I'll just show you our list from this year. Hopefully that works.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just like our list for this year and kind of how we would give you a little bit of an idea, and then like if it's new. So like this year, stuff like So Will I was a new song, and Waymaker, Reckless Love, Build My Life, and then we had a few of the new Elam Sound songs as well. Just to give you a little idea of what we would do. Cool. And then Tim Williams, who's part of our team, some of you guys might have met him in London. He's got a really cool thing in his church. What they do is they have at least one song in the set from the week before. So the idea is if someone came last week for the first time, when they come for the second week, they'll at least recognise one of the songs, which is quite a cool tip. So yeah, that's something to think about. And that's obviously thinking about visitors coming in, new people coming into church. I guess if you've got completely different songs every week, it's going to be quite hard for them. But having that one song in from last week just helps that. So cool. Anyone got any questions or thoughts on that?
Yeah, Nina, go for it.
Quite a few new songs on the conference list. How do you find that you have a bit more free rein to do new stuff when you're doing an event like that than you would on a Sunday in church?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think I guess a conference, usually you would expect more newer songs to be there because people would usually find songs at conferences as well. And one of the things that we will do is we'll check, what the church is singing in general. So stuff like What a Beautiful Name, Reckless Love, even though they're quite new, a lot of churches are singing them already. So I think on the conference list, I reckon there's probably most of them are from our songs. People I reckon a good percentage would have known, but that was what we thought anyway. I don't know, Sam, what you...
Yeah, probably Waymaker and So Will I would be the two that were most requested. And so we get emails after conferences, hey, where do I find that song? Or what was that song? And you get it has a line about stars in it or water. And you're like, oh no, they've all got water references in or... But so we got most requests about Waymaker and So Will I. But yeah, you're right. I suppose at a big conference, you do want to be on the front ends because people do pick up. So, I'm not saying that pastors are lazy, but maybe they rely on the fact that, hey, I go to the conference, I come away with some great new songs, and I tell my team, hey, you should do the Edom Sound new songs, or they did this great song, So Will I, or Waymaker is the one at the minute people have had a job finding, and they're wanting to sing in their churches. So, yeah, note to self, Edom Sound need to do a good version of one of those, so get it out there.
And we would usually have a good conversation as well to make sure that, people in the team have used those songs before coming to conference. It's quite rare that we would do something that none of us have ever done before. That'd be true, wouldn't it, Sam?
That would be true. In fact, I think I might have mentioned this actually at the weekend, our last weekend away, is the song One. We realised that we hadn't really led it too much, and we didn't want to come to conference having not led that song before in our own settings. And I suppose, again, that's just a great rule of thumb. Before you take something to I suppose, maybe a larger platform, is that you've tried it out in a home group or you've tried it out in your church. And so, yeah, my church got fed up of, well, they didn't. They loved singing it for 2-3 weeks beforehand. We squeezed it into every which way. In fact, we did an event, didn't we, Ian, up at the college, and we used it there, which is really cool as well. So,
well, okay.
Good question, Nina.
Great. Anybody else got a question?
Yeah, go for it, Natasha.
I saw on your list that you had male keys and female keys, and it was, how did you find them? Do you get like the males? Like, okay, if a male is singing a song, then it'll be getting the female key. But how would you get the female key? Is it through people singing it, or is it somewhere that it's listed?
Yeah, so a rule of thumb for me is I would usually, if the male key is G, say for example, I would have the female key 3 or 5 below. So 3 or 5 below usually works quite well. Some songs be a bit lower depending on a range, but usually 3 or 5 keys. So, if you're doing it in G as a guy, the girls could do it in E or D. That'd be my rule of thumb. And if you kind of like start looking at, say you've got like So Will I, when the guy does it in A actually, but I would do it in G, and then the girl on the Hillsong album in D. So it's like 5 below. That's what I would normally do. Sam, you do all that all the time as well. So
Yeah, no, just So he's talking there about 3 or 5 keys or semitones down would be what Ian's just mentioning there. And it's a great rule of thumb. I mean, it still doesn't mean it might sound good, because sometimes they have octave jumps that are funny. So sometimes you've brought it down, but then the octave jump doesn't quite work. So you do need to check it through, Natasha. You need to sing it through and try and see if that is awkward or whether it works for the singer. The advantage that we might have at bigger, so that I don't know whether I mentioned this, there's a rule of thumb that, again, 200 people. If events larger than 200 people, somebody, regardless of where you pitch it, a group of people will sing it there. The size is under 200, key becomes all of a sudden key. Do you see what I did there? So that's how we got it going on, and sound. It does become more important because people won't sing. If it's way too high, way too low, you could really lose the momentum in the hall. So so you can get away with basically singing a little bit higher for the guys to sing those higher keys, and the room will still sing. Cool.
Great. Okay. Cool. Should we ask this next question, Sam?
Yeah, go on. Ask a couple.
Okay.
Ian Yates.
Some of these poll questions again. So, just out of interest, how many people are in your team? So, how many of you have under 10 people in your team? 1,
2, 3, 4. 5.
There's a few slow hands, people.
6. They're waiting to know the options. Ross is not going to vote until he's got all the options out there. Love it.
What was that? 5, was it? Something like that. And then between 11 and 25 people?
1, 2, 3.
3, and then over 25?
Ross, 1. Great.
Cool.
And don't know? I'm joking.
Great. And another question is, how long is your overall worship time on a Sunday morning? So I'll give you the options first. Under 20 minutes, between 20 and 35 minutes, or over 35 minutes. And that time will not include your final song, if that makes sense.
Huh?
Cool. Hope that makes sense. So it doesn't include your final song. So who has about under 20 minutes on a Sunday morning? No one.
Yay! So it's just hill songs. Yeah.
Between 20 and 35 minutes?
1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Cool. And over 35 minutes?
Sorry, yeah. 3. Cool.
3. Cool.
That's interesting.
It's interesting. There's no particular reason. We just thought that would be a good question just to get us a kind of straw poll. And we're probably around 20 to 35 minutes in our church. How about you, Sam?
It would be the similar actually for the. Well, it's usually definitely 30 minutes, and then it depends on whether the kids go out or it's communion or something like that. It depends on whether it will roll or not.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. Next thing we're going to go on to is structure, harmony, detail. So when learning a new song, this is one thing that we might have touched on before, but basically looking at when you're going to learn a new song, one of these new songs that you're introducing, a really cool tool that we use and we found really, really helpful over the years. And so we do it into 3 listens. So the first listen will be for structure, the second for harmony or chords, and the third one will be for detail. So if you're learning a new song, on the first listen, we would always ask people to listen for the structure. So how many bars, how many beats per section. So I'll just bring up an example for you guys. Hopefully that works. Great. So this would be your song, and we'd say, listening through, you can count exactly how many bars are in each section. you ever been there on a rehearsal when you're arguing of how many beats should be in a bar, or there's definitely one more bar there? Well, this tool, you've got the proof and the evidence, but you can't it works in your favor. So we would normally look at doing something like this. If you get a little look at that, cool, and I'll stop that. And then the second time through, we would listen for the chords. So some amazing people can work out chords without their instrument. Some of us, I'm getting there, but I'm still not there. And then otherwise you can get your instrument and play along and work out the chords. And we'd encourage you to use the number system in that as well if you were doing it. But the second time you're listening through the song, you really want to pick out which chords are in each section. So I'll show you an example of this one. Great. Start with the chords coming up.
Yep.
Great. So this would be a song. And after your second listen through, you want to have something like this. And so you've got your intro, your verse. So you've got your structure already there from the first time, the exact how many bars, and now you're just putting your chords in, or your numbers in through the song.
It might be worth saying that when we are doing vocals with just lyrics, or even with lyrics with chords on top, we'd usually use, if we underline it, that would be where there's harmony, 2-part or 3-part harmony. And if it's not underlined, that would be where there's no, that it's just unison. And so it's something you can ask your singers to do as well. And so they would underline all the sections whereby they might hear a harmony. Yeah. Go on, keep going, mate.
No, brilliant. You're always good at remembering the vocalists, Sam. That's your...
Keep remembering the vocalists.
And then the third time, you want to listen out for detail. So you want to kind of think, what's the riff? What's the keys line? What's the bass line? What's the drum groove and the bass and the chorus? What's the harmony? Is it 3-part harmony? All that kind of stuff. When does the riff or the line come in? And by the end of it, this is what you want, something like this. Great. Can you guys see that one?
Yeah. This
is an example. You could have the same as, you could have this one, or you could have the other example. But this is Matt, who does some MDing for us. This is something he has. And so after that third time listening through a song, you've got all this information. So he's got there on the intro, you've got 2-bar hold, then all in, the guitar riff and a Glock. I'll let you guys just look at that for a few minutes. You've got your key and everything there.
And probably worth saying, actually, just looking at what Ian's got there, is a friend of mine who used to play for Amy Winehouse. I was going to go on a tour, and he said, I said to him, come on, tell me what I should be knowing, because I was feeling a little bit nervous about doing, because it was one of my first tours with this particular worship leader. And I said, what do I need to know? And he said, Sam, there's one thing you need to know. You need to know the music better than anyone else. That is purely what defines you as the music director, because some of the musicians were brilliant. They were better than me. And I was feeling a bit insecure, just like, okay, what defines me as the music director? Why should they bother listening to me, type thing. And he just gave me this great piece of advice. He said, just know the music better than anyone else. And it wasn't based on whether you were better than them, whether they were better than you, whether you were amazing at your instrument or not. But it's the person who knows the music the best is the best person to help lead that song through. And if you're using the system that we use of learn up to the track and then you can go beyond later, or you can go beyond in your sort of creative moments, then knowing what you've asked everyone to listen to and just being someone that can point stuff out, like, okay, here comes in the Glock, or here comes in that guitar line, or go for it, singers, sing that riff, or, whatever, means that actually anyone actually here in this, this webinar could actually be person as long as you know the music the best. And that means just listening through and making your own notes.
Yeah, and then I think with this one, you know, some really good little, like, seeing the instrumental there, he's got like guitar riff, octave up, you know, just little things like that. So as a guitarist, you know, if there is like that riff that does go an octave up, or there's an effect, you know, or there's like, you know, different delay or whatever, you could put that on that section. You know, as a drummer, the bridge there, Bill Toms, you know, and you know, he's even put drops. He does a drop. The whole band drops on the eighth bar on the third beat. So yeah, hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight into some of that. And it's a great tip. They're really great tips. Like, I think Sam, especially, you've done things where you've had to learn like 50 songs for the conference, and so like, how do you do that? You know what I mean? You can do this in 15 minutes, 3 times through. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, you can have the song. You know exactly how many bars are in each section. You know the whole structure, and you know when your part needs to come in. So hopefully that's a cool tool for you to maybe if you haven't used before, maybe just try it on a couple of songs. Maybe try and do it with your worship team. I did it with some of mine, you know, a while ago, and some loved it, some were a bit like, oh, I don't know. But actually, what it did everyone learned the song quicker, and it was a great tool, and everyone knew. And a funny example was the new Elam Sound song in the verse. That's actually in 7/8, and so it was really interesting. Sorry. Or 7/4.
7/4. But I'm sorry, being pedantic.
7/4. So I was going to say 7/4. It is 7/4. Yeah, 4/4 and 3/4. So 7/4, and
yeah.
So which is really, you know, so it's good. Like stuff like that, people can talk it through, and there's another bit after like the chorus, and going back into the verse, it counts 6. Which why it counts 6, I don't know, but it does, doesn't it, mate? So, which you really, so that's been a really cool thing when people learning that song. They're like, oh, how many is that? And then like those who got the notes can go, it's definitely 6. So it's just been really helpful. You guys got any questions, any thoughts on that tool? I know it was a whistle stop for it, but hopefully.
Yeah, go on, go for it.
Can I jump in? So would you ask everybody to do their own one of those from their perspective, or would you produce one and share it around? And would you expect people to keep these and use them when you're doing that song later, or is it just a one-time thing to try and get that in your memory banks?
Yeah, I'd encourage as many people as possible to do it, definitely. And also, if they can, obviously it's probably good to check everyone's got the same, you know, the same kind of sheet in their way at the end. And hopefully each person probably creates their own little version of this, because we're all different. So we're making sure that the fundamental parts of it are the same. And then obviously people can learn it from that, but you've always got it then as a tool and a backup to go to. And I think if someone learns it themselves, it's better than being given it, because they're gonna be more on it, and I think more involved in it. So what do you think, Sam? Do you agree?
Yeah, totally. The higher the level the stuff, the more emphasis it is on the individual to do their own stuff. You'd have thought that some of these, whether it's a tour or the big conferences, if they just sent you all the music, and that'd be fine if you're reading it. You know, Ross, you probably read, right?
Real music? No, I don't really. I could tell you if it's not sticking to what's there, but
what's there. But yeah, okay, cool. Sorry, mate, I wasn't there. But yeah, no, if you're like more of a classical,
right,
you know, for an orchestra, you would go over your parts, but there you'll be playing from music, and they will do a mixture of reading it and knowing it. But the fact is that we tend to deal, you know, even at a higher level, of actually knowing it, you know, using our ears. And so I thought, yeah, that as you do sort of, I suppose, slightly larger stuff, that actually everything would be provided for you. But I actually found the exact opposite. They won't even give you the tracks. They just give you the track name. And I was like, wow, this is one way to make sure you buy their tracks, although now you get it on Spotify, right? You know, you're going to be getting their sales up just by you doing their tour. But yeah, it's totally on you. And when you make your own notes, you do it in your own way. And you can definitely tell who hasn't, you know, done their homework. And it's a little bit of a no-no to copy someone else's. I've tried.
Yeah, when we did Spring Harvest, there was a guy, Ben, who played guitar, and he's a really great guitarist. He's like top quality guy, and his notes were amazing. Like every song was just like, and I was like, man, like every song he had the riff, he had the right part, and like it was like really like as a worship leader, you're like, oh, I know I don't tell him anything. He's got the whole thing sorted. I don't have to go and say, hey, it's actually a riff there, or that's the wrong chord, or whatever. He was on it. And obviously, you know, there's a difference between what he's doing and probably what we're all involved in local church. But I think the tools apply to everybody, and it's a great, you know, if you can get your guys doing their own notes on each song, and it's gonna up their game, and they're gonna be better musicians for it. So.
Yeah, and Ross, what you're saying there, just about do it from your own perspective first. If you're then, I know your role is more of an MD sort of overseeing role, I would try and then do it, you know, so that I have made notes, like a bit like Matt's done, on guitar riffs, drum beats, you know, anything that I might, you know, unison to harmony for the vocals. I don't think there's anything from Matt on that, but I would make notes on that if I was MDing. So you make your own notes for yourself, so your own instrument, your own voice. And then if you're doing a more of an MDing type role, make more of an overall one. But definitely ask your team to do their homework when you send out the list. And funny enough, some people spend more than 15 minutes searching online to get the chord charts, which are so often wrong. Again, just this conference this weekend, we were listening to one of the new songs, Peace Be Still by, is it the Belonging & Co? That's a great song. A little top tip for you if you're looking for a new song. That's a great one. Peace Be Still by Belonging Co. And we were listening to it, and the bass player was sitting behind me, and he was just thinking he was so like flashed because he had downloaded the chord chart, and he's like shouting out the numbers as we're listening to it, and we were listening to it on like a Bluetooth speaker, and I'm like, that doesn't sound right. And so we ended up juggling it so we could hear it on the car stereo, and we realised that the chords that he had downloaded off the website or wherever off online, that they were wrong. And we're like, mate, stop shouting out the wrong chords. Look, we can tell that that's not a 6, it's not a 3 there. And well, sometimes what they do is they will change the chords to make them slightly easier to play. But actually, most people, we do learn up to the track, not learn up to the chord chart that you ripped off the website or the internet. Because it's the track that people will have heard, and usually it's the track that has got all the nice bits and pieces in. And so, by using your ear, if it sounds good, that always trumps anything that's written on the sheet.
And even like some of the, Songs of Fellowship stuff, Spring Harvest books, over the years, even some of our songs that have been there, the chords are wrong, or like, you're like, whoa. And I've had a few conversations over the years going, that chords. But that's kind of, so it encourages you to like, don't just rely on the actual sheet. Yeah.
So do you think it's best then not to, when you're trying to learn a new song, not to go straight to Simon and I as well actually use Song Select? Is it best to actually try and learn the song by ear first, like you were saying with your 3-step, or I mean, in my mind, it would probably help to have both. You got the chord sheet as a guide, but yeah, sometimes the chords are wrong, and we've picked up on that, and we've worked out what the better chord is. Yeah. So I think most of my team would struggle, including me. I think just to learn a song just from hearing it, we would have to. Yeah. I'm gradually acquiring the skill, but I think it's something that takes a long time.
Yeah, I would say definitely both is great. I think it's a good challenge to say to yourself, can I work this out? As a personal development, just like for your ears, can I work this out? And then maybe reference what you've done. Even if it's just one go through the song, I think maybe that chord sequence is, G, D, and C, and then look at the actual song select and go, yeah, I got that right. That's just a good personal thing to do. And I think Song Select's great, especially if it's a quick like, I'm doing this song now. It's a lifesaver, innit? You just stick it in your own song and it comes up, and you can change the key and everything, so it's brilliant. But yeah, so I'd say both is cool. But I reckon to just for your development, trying to learn a song by hearing is just a great skill.
Yeah. I did email Song Select a few months ago actually, asking them if they were thinking of publishing chord charts on the Nashville numbering system rather than actually.
Ooh.
Because if they did that, you wouldn't have to. People who rely on keys would actually. It would actually be a good tool for learning the Nashville number system.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't have to keep printing off new sheets all the time. But and that to me seems like a fairly obvious thing to do, to at least offer that option. But they said that they weren't even thinking of of offering that option, which I think is a shame.
Yeah, it is. Surely they could choose the key or choose the national number system.
Yeah. It seems like a bit of a no-brainer to me, but there we go.
And it's eco-friendly. It's environmentally friendly.
Exactly.
I mean, hello.
Yeah.
I think we need to start petitioning Song Select. Say to them,
I've sent one email.
Lower the carbon footprint.
So if everybody sends an email to Song Select now with the same question.
Mate, I love the fact that you've emailed them. That's brilliant. So anyone that would like to do that, go for it. It's a great idea, Ken.
Yes, please.
Yeah. And just to say, I agree with Ian. Just use Song Select or the website if you can't tell what it is, or even just to check your answers. But it is a shortcut, and like with any shortcut, you do need to know what its limitations are. It can be super helpful to have a shortcut when you really don't have the time, or it's a last-minute jobby. But just be careful; some of the chords won't be right, and you probably won't know that song as well as you'd hope. So
just a very quick thing on. Does people know the song "Come to the Altar" Elevation?
Yeah.
So on Song Select, when it goes to the bridge, you can't work out how many bars are in that gap, and there's 6 bars. But everyone always, when they first listen to it, you go for 4 or 8. And I've found that so many times people get that little interlude between the chorus and the bridge. But if you've done your homework beforehand, you know exactly. Oh yeah, it's 6 bars there, and for whatever reason, 6 bars catches us out. We're used to 4 or 8, but 6. Whoa. So it's just just like doing your homework does help, and and it's nice to be right if you're arguing with a team member, and they're like, it's definitely 4. So that's cool.
And who likes to be right in the room? Yeah. Keely, you like to be right too, right? Yeah. Hey, so we found something that we all love, and it's to be right. That's great. Thanks, mate. Just another top tip, actually, that Ian has done for us for River Camp. He's put together playlists on Spotify and just sent them.
Oh, it was Matt. It was Matt at me. It wasn't me. It was Matt.
Oh, sorry. Okay, praise where praise is due. So Matt, the guy who's MDing for us, who's the chord chart you saw, did he put an Apple one and a Spotify one together?
Yeah, he was good. Yeah.
Very good. I'm very pleased. So he put all the songs, and so if you're doing 20 or 30 or 40 or you got 70, whatever your playlist is, I thought that was a cool idea. And then you can update it, and it would auto update, wouldn't it? When they go to that playlist. So that's a cool little helpful top tip. Don't say we don't give the top tips here. I was like, that's worth saying. Cool. I'm just a little bit aware of time. Do you want me to just quickly go over practice, rehearsal, sound check? It's something we did talk about in the retreat. Just, has anyone used practice, rehearsal, sound check, or just like help them get in their head? Oh, excellent. We've had some people. Linda, you're nodding. Do you want to just comment on that? I'll unmute you. Or you can unmute you.
Okay, yeah. It was a little while ago, but in my previous church, our MD, musical director, always used to say to us when we arrived at rehearsal, I hope you've been practicing, because it is practice, rehearsal, sound check. So it's something that's been drummed into me for probably the last 4 years.
Yeah. Okay.
So, when you mentioned it last time, it was something I was very familiar with. So.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. No, thanks for mentioning. That's brilliant. Yeah, it's just getting your head into the right space. What am I doing when I'm practicing? That's me benefiting. When I'm rehearsing, that's going to be us as a team. And just if you are, who's the team leader? Who's in charge of the rehearsal? Another straw poll. If you run your rehearsal, great. Wow. So most of the people in this room, brilliant. And even if you don't, it can be a great way. Just try and make your rehearsals focused. Like what is it that out of the list of 6 songs, 7 songs, whatever you're rehearsing, 3 songs, which is the one you're going to spend most of your time on? How can you make this rehearsal right from the out feel like that, this is worth coming to, it feels good. We spoke about the fact of teaching your team something will mean that the dopamine kicks in, people love being there, not only to be under your leadership, but the fact that they've learned something new. And if it feels focused and sharp, like, let's check intros, let's check that again. I don't think I spoke about this, but often when we're rehearsing, this idea of forgetting and remembering, every time you forget something and remembering it, so the remembering process actually burns a new neural pathway every time you remember. And so it might mean, actually, we'll check that at the end, so everyone has forgotten it, and then they remember that riff for the first time, or they remember where they went to harmony, or they remember how the verse went. Every time you remember, that's what helps burn the neural pathways, so that you will always do it that way. So that's very much a little trick that I use for when I'm doing introductions to songs, or a line in a song that is, going to be very exposed. I will forget it well, you say forget it, I'll do something else, come back to it, and it's in the remembering. That's how we get better and better at it. And encouraging the team not to rehearse things wrong for exactly the same reason. If we are remembering something the wrong way, and so often my students will just try and go faster, or they'll just do it again. And, in trying, they might 3 or 4 or 5 times, they might have tried. And I just say to them, do you realize you've done it wrong at the same point the last 3, 4 or 5 times? You're actually practicing it to play it like that every time you do it wrong. And so number one rule for us is slow it down. And we don't really do that in our worship. We might just run at it at full tilt. But if the team is struggling in any way, I mentioned it about learning a new song with the lyrics for your congregation. If we slow it down a bit and then we speed it up. Some of the complicated lines that I do when I play for Noel Robinson, they're crazy. And it's interesting, even with session musicians, they do it, might have a little line, was a little line that we had to learn. And all the session musicians, we ba ba da ba ba da da ba da ba da da ba da da da, and we all just went round and round at a real slow pace, and then slowly built it up. It's a crazy end to one of his songs, and it's sort of this speed, ba ba da da ba da da ba da 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 da. And to be honest, half of us didn't play it right, but it sounds amazing. But that's how you do it. You slow it down and you practice again. Leighton, you were, I think, there at that conference, so I'm giving all the secrets away. And then the final one is SOUNDCHECK. Last story about this women's conference that Ian was on with me over the weekend. We had brought our own sound engineer, but with time pressure, we only had, 6, and we started at 8. So we only had 2 hours to get into the new venue, new sound engineer on the desk, set everything up. Well, actually, you guys had already done a little bit of setup, but check lines, get a great sound. And Ian was half laughing at me, but I think half appreciative of the fact that I was, running the sound check. But it was all about this working with the sound engineer, one thing at a time, and just, keep it sharp. Because however long you've got, whether it's half hour, 45 minutes, if you're leading the rehearsal, if you're not the worship leader, you might be the best person to help lead that sound check. Work with your sound engineer to get the best sound. Any final comments on sound check? Yay, go for it. Should I unmute you, Sophia? Yeah, great.
Yeah, no, it was just after we spoke about it, I came back on the Sunday and I was very aware that my team very much do that. We'll all talk at once with the hope that our sound guy will hear us and we'll sort it out. And I realised our singer will stay very quiet, and she was very much just sort of, she could hear what she could hear and she was quite happy with that. So we got to the point actually where we just stopped everybody and he could go through every single one of us. And she did turn around and said, that's the best sound I've heard in my years and ages. I could follow everything. And I just thought it was great, that whole just stopping and almost going through the one person sort of thing. Because our team, I mean, like they all want exactly what they want when they want it kind of thing. Yeah. So it was just to get to stop actually and not panic sound guy to the point he wants to run and hide was a great point for us.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, it was a great point.
Yeah, and that's amazing. Thanks for sharing, Sophia. That's brilliant. And it can be like that, isn't it? And whereby one person, I don't know whether you noticed this as well, I'm not dobbing anyone in. Rebecca, my intern, or now assistant, should I say, it gets to a point whereby she's asked 5 changes in the last 2 minutes. And it's like, you got to give someone else a go. And I know she's just trying to get it right for her, but there's another 5, 6, 7 people in the band. And we might only have 2 changes. I had one keyboard player that I used to work with, and I used to limit him to 3 changes. because he would tweak all the way through. And he was really good at getting to know the sound engineer, butter them up a little bit. And before you know it, he's working for this one keyboard player rather than working for me. I was like, what's going on? all said in jest, but it's amazing how when pressure's on, sound check can be that last step, isn't it? Before we then actually go live, when we've got people in front of us and we want our hearts to be, you know, pure and not be worrying about an argument we had in sound check. And I genuinely believe that if we can get the sound check running smoothly, then actually it could give us a running chance at actually leading people with a, you know, that whole just, oh, it wasn't stressful. We did it and we did it together, rather than, you know, we ended up, everyone wants to, you know, never come back to church again. Wow, that's a sobering thought to finish on, right? Leighton, I see you've got your football t-shirt on, mate. Oh, sorry, you're right. Yeah. Can we say again, mate?
Colombia underneath.
Great. Guys, thanks so much for staying on a little bit longer with us. Absolutely great to see everyone. I hope that you all have a great rest of the evening, and if you want to catch up with football, you can go for it. Just the last little, is there any serious info that we need to share, Ian?
Don't think so.
Wow, no info. That's all right.
The next weekend is in October, isn't it? So
yeah,
it's a work.
Great, and that's the songwriting and the prophetic one. That's cool. Yeah, go for it, Mr. Theo. I can't hear you, mate, and you're not muted. Ah, why is that? Can you do it in the form of dance? I still can't hear you, and we haven't got you muted, mate. Theo, can you hear us? For the last hour, have you been sitting there in silence? Oh, mate.
Old school.
Oh, mate, you might have to text us. You text us.
I'll email.
Oh, we can hear you now.
Oh, we can hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah.
All it was, all it was, I was going to say, you know, the bit he worked out about doing a new song.
Yeah.
Yeah, would you be able to send that out to us just so we can have a look at it?
Yeah, sure, mate. Yeah.
Quite interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
That's it.
It's all good. That was it, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Just to show you guys that I had a little message come under the door for me. Rachel posted it through the door just to say, put 2 dishes on top of the oven at 8:30. Great. See you for a date at 9 o'clock. So I take it that the girls were in bed. Anyway, that's an evening in the life of Sam Blake. Guys, it was amazing to see you guys, and I hope you have great summers. And as you can tell, I've been sitting in the garden a little bit today working, so caught a little bit of the sun. I think I'm the reddest person on screen. Yep. Fab. So if you're going on holiday, have great holidays, guys, and we look forward to seeing you real soon. Is that good?
Thanks very much.
Guys, have a great rest of the evening. Bless you. Bye-bye.